I'm John Strange with Selig Film News. Could you tell us who you are and what film you're with today?
Sure, nice to meet you, John. My name is Johnathan Browniee, and I'm the director and producer and co-screenwriter of the film 3 Days in August, shot right here in Texas.
Awesome. Can you tell me a little bit about the film?
Sure. Actually, it's bigger than just a film. It's really a project that we started last year. A very good friend of mine, Shannon Kincaid, who we met on another film, had this wonderful idea to make a film that was kind of inspired by her life experience. So, I wanted to make an independent film. I wanted to make a film here in Texas because I live here now, and that was important to me to sleep in my own bed. So we basically put this international screenwriting competition together. 200 scripts came in from 26 countries around the world. Very surprisingly, we actually chose a Texas screenwriter who wrote 90 pages. We then all sat down and reworked the script, which was already fabulous to begin with, Chad Berry and David Langlanais. And then we'd already guaranteed production in the fall, and I wanted to help DIFF out as well, so we let them partner with us on the screenwriting competition because they'd never had one before. And then we also partnered with Studio Movie Grill to get a guaranteed limited national theatrical release for the film. So we really put a really nice package together that's sort of bigger than actually the film itself in some ways. But people ask me why I chose to direct this film, and I actually look at it the other way. I think this film actually chose me. I hadn't really anticipated in directing this feature, and I was producing it and helping Shannon Kincaid put this together, and started bringing people in. Sony jumped on, and they said, would you be interested in shooting a camera that's never shot a feature before? We'll give you all the gear. And we're like, well, let's talk about it a bit. So we did that. They gave us all the gear. Then Leica came in, gave us all the lenses, the semicrons, same lenses they used to shoot Birdman. Then light panels came in, and Sackler and O'Connor. And all these amazing people started jumping on board because we'd created sort of this nice story, this nice narrative, not only about the story of 3 Days in August, but also about the production of 3 Days in August.
Awesome. I was looking. Tell me about your location where you shot this at.
So we shot the majority of the film on a ranch out in Mineral Wells, and there's a long story that goes behind that, but I'll give you kind of the short version of that. It's this beautiful ranch, has many, it's almost like a hotel room. They use it oftentimes, I'll start that one again.
Sorry about that.
It's cool. So we shot the majority of the film out in Mineral Wells, Texas, on this beautiful ranch with the Brazos River running through the middle of it. And I'd been to this ranch years ago, and I always thought it would be an amazing place to shoot a feature. And when Shannon and I started working on this project together, and we got this amazing script, I knew instantly where I wanted to shoot it, but I didn't know if we could make it happen. Well, it just so happens that Chad Berry, who's one of the writers, I was talking to him about the ranch, and he goes, oh, that's Tammy Kleinman's ranch. Tammy owns Lucky Post, also owns the ranch. It's this Dallas, and I knew them, and before that was Jimmy and Jane Baldwin. They also owned part of this ranch, and I'd been there when Jimmy and Jane had owned it. He goes, we should just talk to Tammy about shooting there. And I was like, that would be amazing. And so Tammy and the rest of the other owners agreed to let us live on the ranch and shoot on the ranch. Tammy also owns Lucky Post. So we were looking for editors to cut the film, and we got lucky. They were like, well, Sai Saralbajan and Logan Heffelfinger tag teamed editing this film. I mean, amazingly talented editors who we could have never afforded. Logan actually cut Moneyball, a little film like that. So they jumped on board, and their whole staff was amazing and really helped shepherd this project through the picture part of it. But that's how the ranch all came about, and it was really bigger than just the location.
So it actually became a character in the movie.
It really is a very important character. The movie takes place on the ranch. The basic story is Shannon is a Texas artist who's adopted and has always wanted to paint a portrait of her entire family, both her birth parents and her adopted family. And like a lot of situations like this, they don't exactly get along. So unbeknownst to either of these sides of these families, she invites them all to this ranch for the weekend. so they don't know that they're both going to be there. And obviously, living under a roof for 3 days in August presents some interesting conversations, and it's a wonderful film. It really is.
Tell me about some of the actors the talent you brought in for this.
Well, the actors we brought in for this, when you're working on a script and now you're going to direct it, you put a wish list together of people that you would love to work with, that are exactly right for the roles, and they're very strong female characters in this. It's really a triangle of women: the adopted mother, Maggie. The birth mother, Maggie, the adopted mother, Maureen, and Shannon, the adoptee, the child. And the two older women are certainly very different. The Maureen character is, Dallas Wealth. The Maggie character comes from a small town, and so very opposite side of the tracks. And so I put this wish list together, and I was like, I would love to work with Mariette Hartley. I've adored her work for years. She's just an amazingly talented, beautiful woman. And on the other side, I was like, I wonder if Meg Foster would do this film. I mean, she's perfect for it. I mean, she really hasn't done a narrative like this before, but she has such amazing chops as an actor. So I sat down with both of them in LA at the same coffee shop, one after another, and I knew that if we could cut the business side of it, we could get both of these, because they both really connected with the material. So once I had them, I had to figure out, some really strong male figures to put next to them. And so, Mariette Hartley is actually quite tall. So I couldn't put somebody short next to her, and I certainly couldn't put somebody that didn't have the acting acumen that she does. So I'd always wanted Barry Bostwick for the role, and we'd gone out to Barry early in the process, and he didn't really look at it. And you never know if the agent actually showed him the script or not. So I asked Mariette, I said, "Do you know Barry?" And she goes, "Yeah." I go, "Pick up the phone and call him and tell him to do this film." So she did. She picked up the phone, she called him, he called me back. We had an amazing phone conversation and busted each other's chops for about an hour on the phone. He's a very funny guy. And I said, "You need to do this film." And he goes, "Well, I don't know." Like, it's Barry. When you meet Barry, you'll get it. I said, "You need to do this film." So we worked out a deal, and he did it. And so I had the one side, I had that family done, and I'd worked with a guy, his name is Edward James Hyland, and Ed and I go back 20 plus years to when we were both doing Shakespeare in New York and all of those wonderful times as actors, and I was like, he would be so perfect for this if I could get him. I knew he was already booked on a Woody Allen film, so we worked out a deal. I said, "Ed, you got to come and do this film with me," and he did. And then we rounded out the cast with, amazing Cal Bartlett. You look at Cal, you just read his IMDb page. The guy's been in everything from The Virginian to Paint Your Wagon. I mean, the guy knows more about filmmaking than I'll ever learn. So it's very cool. And then I wanted to cast locally, and so we found this amazing actress, Molly Milligan, right here in town, and she is wonderful in this film. She's really the linchpin of the story. So all in all, we have an amazing cast.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Tell me, do you know when you're playing here at the festival?
Yeah, we're the premiere film on Tuesday night is our premiere. So we play Tuesday night at 7:30, and then the film commission is hosting a reception for us afterwards, which is fabulous, Janice and her folks. And then we also play the next day, I think in the afternoon around 4:30 or 5:30.
Awesome. Do you have a website?
We do. It's called ShonaProductions.com, and that's SIONNA Productions.com. And Shona is Gaelic for Shannon.
Ah, awesome. Well, excellent. How about we talk about your other film now, Occupy Texas? Tell me a little bit about it.
So Occupy Texas was the first feature that I was involved with here in Dallas, in Texas, and these two amazingly talented, gorgeous, well-educated guys. I get this phone call we have great connectors in Dallas. So Steve Stodghill calls me up and he says, I just met with these two guys and they're really got their stuff together. And they said, well, who should I talk to in Dallas? And they said, Steve said, you should call Johnathan Browniee. And at the same time, Catherine Cuellar, also another great connector, said, you should talk to Johnathan Browniee. So here I get this call from these guys and I'm like, oh yeah, you always get these filmmakers who are like, we've got a script, we want to make a movie. I'm like, but look, I always take a meeting, I always buy somebody a coffee. That's what people did for me. And so in walk these two amazing looking, well buttoned up, extremely talented guys. And I'm like, they might actually have something here. So we sat up at the soda bar in the Nilo Hotel and kind of worked out Occupy Texas. Great script by Gene Gallerano. Jeff Barry was directing his first feature. So I knew I really wanted to support these guys as a producer. And so that's kind of how I got involved in Occupy Texas.
Tell me about the story.
So the story, Gene Gallerano really wrote an amazing script. Gene's a local Dallas kid, went to Booker T. Washington. The script is really what we call a coming-of-age story for an adult. So it's kind of like an Uncle Buck meets Little Miss Sunshine, if you will. It's about this golden child kid who's going to be a lawyer, and he, for some reason, gives it up, walks through Zuccotti Park in New York City during the Occupy Wall Street movement, and kind of disappears for a bunch of years. Fast forward to 7 years later, his uncle Nolan shows up in New York, finds him living up under a doorstep. He's been there for 7 years, he's a vagrant, and lets him know that his parents have been killed in a car wreck in Texas and it's time to come home and grow up. So he comes home to find out that his parents have left him everything, as well as guardianship of his two younger sisters. So it's really a story of him, does he stay there in that world and take on his responsibilities, or does he go back to what he's doing? Fabulous script.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Tell me about the talent that they use for this.
So again, a local project, and Jeff Barry really wanted to use as many people as he could locally, and we were lucky to get Lorelei Linkletter. This is her follow-up to Boyhood, which is pretty amazing. It's a great calling card for us, and she's fabulous. And then we also brought Perry Gilpin in, who's actually a Dallas girl and had never really worked in Dallas. So Perry agreed to come in and do the film. And then we also cast Janine Turner, another tour de force. So you look at what we've got. These casts, of Occupy Texas is really pretty spectacular.
Awesome. When are you showing at the festival?
So Occupy Texas is one of the featured Texas films. It plays the first Friday night at 7:30, and then it plays again on the next Saturday.